Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we have a very cool mod, honestly, because not only does it add in a new legendary lord for the Lizardmen, but it adds in a bunch of new units that can be used in any faction. Hell, it radically changes stuff for, say for example, Oxyotl, a much more thematic campaign, but also a massive amount of balancing to just kind of bring the Lizardmen up to speed a bit. Yeah, this is going to be really fun. This mod released just yesterday and is known as LUSTRIA Rises. So yeah, loads of Lizardmen stuff, and it's really cool. It's by a modder known as Obsidian. Been playing pretty much all last night, considering that I've been dealing with a lot of tinnitus issues, which make me stop sleeping. But with all that being said, we are going to jump right in. We've obviously got the faction and lord effects. You can see your legendary lord here. He's pretty cool. He's a big toad. It's about time we had another slan. So, faction effects, we have reinforces the geomantic web to level 2, indirectly improving the commandments for all provinces. This is going to be quite useful as you're already getting quite strong bonuses there. Hero recruit rank +3 for skink priests. Trust me, skink priests are a lot better now. Lord effects are as follows: Winds of Magic Power Reserve Capacity +30, very strong. Unit experience gain per turn +60 for Lord's Army. Enemy hero action success chance -15% for local province. Campaign line of sight +30%. And miscast base chance -60%. He's already going to be quite powerful, as you can see. Now, this campaign is going to be quite difficult at the very start. You're going to be fighting against a minor Tzeentchian faction, and you're also going to be dealing with VIKRAM, already at war with him too. You're going to be surrounded by enemies. You're in Lustria, by the way, but that's kind of expected from a Slan character. Up to the north, you've got more Dark Elves. You've got some more Chaos factions. To the south, you've got some Toon Kings, which are okay at the beginning. And you do obviously have some friends with, you know, all the other Lizardmen Lords in Lustria, but it might take a while for you to be able to get to them, as at the beginning, like I said, lots and lots of fighting. Now, you're also going to make use of the sacrifices to Sotek mechanic. I believe that most of the lords also have this, because I know Mazdamundi has this too. And yeah, it's a mechanic that you already are aware of, and it's actually pretty good. It should be something that should be a baseline mechanic, I'd say, for the Lizardmen. But getting those bonuses is going to be quite helpful for you, considering that you're going to be in a very aggressive campaign. It's definitely there for the Lizardmen if you want something a little bit different. Now, we're going to jump into the Legendary Lord, because the Legendary Lord is a Slan, as you can imagine. He's going to be a very powerful spellcaster, having a pretty interesting mix of spells: Chain Lightning, Wind Blast, you know, Apotheosis, very similar to, well, Mazdamundi. I like the character. I am a really big fan. I think that he is something which you're used to. Keep in mind that he can't get mounts, so he's not going to be as strong as Mazdamundi. He's not going to be as powerful, but he's definitely a very interesting start. In terms of the unique skill line, you've got some pretty cool stuff too. You're going to make use of basically 3 lines, just like Mazdamundi does, and you're going to be able to get quite a lot of bonuses here, from reinforcement time to extra damage against, say for example, any usual enemy factions that you'll be able to find in Lustria. Overall, I'd say the character is actually quite powerful. You can get a pretty good barrier on him, so you'll be able to be quite defensive too, and take a little bit of punishment just in case, you know, your enemies do bring you down. Overall, yeah, pretty fun. You can get a bit of a barrier bonus towards some units too, which is kind of cool. But in the most cases, you're going to be focusing on your character more than anything else. You've also got access to 2 items. These will show up on screen right now. And pretty good bonuses overall, helping you deal with, say for example, corruption and just extra spell resistance. Not only that, but reducing miscast chance when you're trying to overcast, and you know, you want to overcast. You've got a lot of reserves with this character. Overall, very powerful. I'm a big fan. I've been really enjoying the things, but there's a lot more to this mod. You see, the mod introduces 1 new generic lord type and 3 new generic heroes, which is fantastic. The first being the Chameleon Skink Sentinel, meaning that you have a Chameleon Skink Lord, something that I actually expected to see during the Silence of the Fury, because, you know, Oxyotl does need some friends, and yeah, this is great. This has been something that's calling for me to do an actual Oxyotl campaign again, because now I can go full Chameleon Skink armies. You've even got a hero version. But yeah, ranged character, just like Oxyotl, you've got some decent bonuses there. Not going to be as strong, obviously, because this is a Legendary Lord, but enough to justify just having an army of chameleon skinks basically going full commando throughout the world, and I think that just adds to a lot of flavor here. When we start looking towards the heroes, there's also some pretty cool ones. The first being a Kroxigor Elder, so you've actually got a Kroxigor hero now, and that's great because it kind of adds to a little bit of effect if you want to play as Nakai the Wanderer. I mean, you can use them with any other character and whatever theming that you have, but yeah, you know, it's just great to get that little bit of roster just getting a little bit fleshed out and getting all the generics that were kind of missing. Some of these weren't actual characters in the army book, but they were, you know, mentioned in lore, and you kind of want that when you play as a theme army, right? The next is the Chameleon Skink Prowler, which again adds in a little bit more theming for Oxyotl. Seriously, after this video is out, well, after I'm done recording, better yet said, I'm just going to play some Oxyotl because this just sounds really, really fun. And yeah, range, but not so much range. The idea is it's just got like a Bolar weapon, which, yeah, not the best, but it can still move around quite quickly. You can have it supporting your melee troops, maybe if you're taking your Chameleon Skinks into melee if they run out of ammo, which generally doesn't happen because you gun down enemies really, really quick. But yeah, absolutely cool. Very cool look to it too. The idea is they look awesome, and I don't know, man, like, I'm a really big fan of this mod. Just from playing for a few hours, I thought this was like the best mod that we've seen so far. We've also got a last hero version, which is the Coatl Guardian, which is a Coatl hero, by the way. And you can get these with different laws of magics too. Not a lot of them. It's Law of Heavens, Law of Light, and Law of Life. But overall, spellcaster hero and a few different types of bound spells, which is kind of cool. It is, again, you know, it's just freaking awesome to have that variety just in case you want it or not, because I feel that's a really important thing with this game. Just having the variety because you might not use it now, but you might want to use it later if you're theming your campaigns and stuff. The models look absolutely great, by the way. They look absolutely phenomenal, and we're going to be going over the units now. There's a few things to discuss in general, but I'm super, super happy. It's just great to play with the Lizardmen again because, yes, the Lizardmen are a faction which are in desperate need of a rework, and it kind of shows. It really does show. So this mod adds in a few units that you can use throughout your campaign in no specific order. We've got the Altar Braves. This is a halberd infantry, so armor piercing, anti-large, fairly good stats overall. They're also aquatic too if you make use of that stat, which, to be fair, for a lot of maps you don't. But for Lustrian maps you kind of do sometimes. But yeah, pretty decent overall. Like, they're skinks, and there's going to be a lot of skinks in this mod, which is going to allow you for you to have a proper, like, 10-win campaign if you just want to use skinks. I feel like that's a really, really good thing, but they do mesh quite nicely with your Saurus and your Kroxigors. The next unit after that is Skink Horned One Riders. We're going back to early editions of Warhammer Fantasy. So yeah, Horned Ones, but with Skinks instead. Armor piercing, anti-large because they've got spears, and, you know, primal instincts, all that type of stuff. Overall, pretty cool. I'm a big fan of this. Again, variety is the spice of life. You can see that again with the other unit, which is an ancient Razordon. So the ancient Razordon is just Razordon, just single unit. But some people do prefer the monstrous versions rather than having a few of them. And I mean, it's pretty cool, right? Coloring is really nice on it too. Gecko skinks are perhaps one of the cutest things I've ever seen. I love the coloring. Actually, I really might paint some of my skinks like this. But yeah, think of them like Skaven slaves because they're weak, right? They've got a little bit of a debuff because they can use the bowler weapons, but in general, these are not your front line. These are your top hit, and they're not going to last a long time. They're really not going to last. I like them though. I actually really like the theming here. And just having something that's just a quick chaff is always kind of cool anyway. But yeah, we're going to start moving on. The next unit itself are the Salamander hunting packs, but these are with fire stream jets. This is just another version of Salamander. It can do a decent amount of damage. It's just a little bit stronger. Variety is the spice of life, obviously, again. But yeah, cool coloring. Kind of reminds me of how some people generally used to paint their salamanders back in the day. Not a lot to talk about, so we're going to move on. Skink Cold One Riders, again going back to earlier editions of Warhammer Fantasy, will give you a pretty hard-hitting skirmishing cavalry. I'm actually quite surprised, but yeah, pretty decent overall, you know. Cold Ones are very powerful, so you can use these guys in melee if you so wish. And yeah, you've got primal instincts too, so keep that in mind. But armor piercing, melee damage, you've got a little bit of range. That's always really, really useful. Again, something that skinks kind of lacked was range cav, and there's a lot of it here. Well, not range cav, but just cav in general. And yeah, we're going to move on with perhaps one of the most interesting ones, because this is a unit that we all kind of want officially. The model is pretty cool. You know, these are Colchian Riders. Again, going back to early editions of Warhammer Fantasy. So fast moving, very fast moving. Not the best in terms of stats, but these are a unit that you want to use to like Vanguard and stuff, because they've got Vanguard. I love the Terrorbirds. I think they're really, really cool. We used to call them dodos back in the day because they were just an odd looking model, but overall really cool unit. Lots of skinks, lots and lots of skinks, which is awesome. I think that more skinks in an army is always pretty cool, and in general we just want more variety for the sake of the Lizardmen, don't we? And lastly, we have the Feral Great Worm, a massive pterodactyl unit. Absolutely cool. I mean, stat-wise, it's awesome. It's good for the skies if you want to take out any flying beasts, like, say, for example, if you might be dealing with some Bloodthirsters and so on. It's got Vanguard too, which I think is pretty terrifying. Terra, it can rampage though, so keep that in mind. But overall, the stats are pretty cool. It's just nice to have another big type of monster. I mean, yes, there's a lot of them for the Lizardmen, but we don't have a big flyer yet, and it would just be kind of cool if we had that eventually. Plus, it would be just kind of cool if we had a big flyer to paint in the tabletop. But yeah, overall, a lot of variety, a lot of skinks, which I feel is quite important. There's a lot more to this mod, however, which I'm not going to be showcasing the changelog because there's a lot. If you go to the mod page, there is a massive, massive changelog for all the factions because there's a lot of balancing, a lot of changes here and there. But, say for example, some things that you might want to know is, for example, the Rite of Awakening. Now you can get to pick from 9 laws of magic. So you've got all the 8 basic colors, and then you've got high magic too, which I think is freaking cool, because I know a lot of people who play tabletop who play now with the Lizardmen in Total War, and they're like, well, my favorite lore isn't here. This is how I used to do my armies. So this is great. This is honestly really, really cool. I'm a big fan of that. And it does affect your Skink Priest. You have a lot of different types of Skink Priests that you can play with now, which I think is freaking cool too. I'm really happy because I've been actively avoiding the Lizardmen. You got a lot of hero variants now, so you can play around. You can theme your armies exactly how you want to. And yeah, this is what we want officially by the end of the game series, essentially. It's kind of weird that we just don't have the other laws of magic for the Sran, considering it's just a recolor, but hey, modders are saving the day here. So let me just talk to you about my experience with the mod. I absolutely love this, honestly. There's a bunch of extra stuff in-game, like for example, just renaming certain units to be a bit more lore-friendly and a few quality of life changes. Nothing too big for the other legendary lords, but well, at least from what I've seen, I've mostly been playing this character and then just mucking around with Mazda Mundi every now and then. This was really, really fun. This was really, really fun. Like from the changelog alone, you can see that every Lizardman faction got a little bit of a quality of life update, just some changes here and there to make sure that everyone played a little bit fresh. It's basically like playing the Lizardmen for the first time again. Keep in mind that some of the changes for the other factions aren't too big, as obviously the main focus is new units and new additions and stuff. But overall, very, very fun. If you're looking for an experience with the Lizardmen, if you're looking for a reason to play the Lizardmen again, this is definitely something that you're going to want to play. And yeah, I played with the new faction for a good few hours. Difficult, very, very difficult at the start, depending on what difficulty you're playing on, but very satisfying. And you might want to also use recruit defeated legendary lords just in case the other factions get wiped out. There's a few others that will get wiped out depending on what other mods you're using and so on. But overall, very, very good experience. I like him. I struggled a bit in this battle that you can see on screen, mostly because Khorne does hit very, very hard lately, and I was using randomly generated armies, so obviously not the best composition. But overall, yeah, I had fun playing the Lizardmen, and that's the first time I've had fun with the Lizardmen since, well, the Silence and the Fury, because Oxyotl's base campaign is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best DLCs that Creative Assembly have ever released, to be honest. But yeah, if you want this mod, try it out. It's on the description below. You're going to love it. If you've been looking again for the excuse to play Lizardmen, you're really, really going to like this one. It doesn't have to mean playing with the new faction, because either way, you're bound to have a good time. But let me know what you guys think about this mod in the comments below. Let's have a little bit of a discussion. Fantastic job by the modder before. I'm not sure if I've covered this modder's other works before, unless this is the first project. But yeah, really, really cool. I'll let the rest of the battle play out in case you want to see me kind of struggle a little bit, but have a pretty fun battle at the end of the day. And yeah, I'll see you all again very, very soon.
Shooting sky! Monday.
Source it's